Hi everybody, I'm Bill Sanders and this is Watch Art Sci, the art and science of watch collection. Today we're going to take a look at ZL's Young Man's collection. ZL is a guy who's in his 20s and his collection is got a lot of things in it I think you're going to find very interesting. Okay, first off, the first two watches are a Doxa Jumo manual wind. And this one's from the 1950s, and it's in pretty good shape. And the patina of the dial is quite nice. It's also something else too. It's anti-magnetic, and in the 50s, especially, that was a big deal. And so this is a nice little example of a Doxa Jumo. Now the one next to it is a Movado, like a Movado I've never seen. I always think of Movados as very modern looking watches. And this one's called the Calendomatic. And it's, it's such a cool watch. First of all, it's a bumper. And a bumper is where it's an automatic, except the rotor only goes 120 degrees. And so it just bumps back and forth rather than all the way around 360 degrees. And so they're called bumpers. And this one's a neat one. It's got a hand date. It's got date between the 10 and 2. And it's also a very cool looking watch. 34 millimeters. And it's on a nice little strap there. That's a cool watch. I've never seen one like it. And that's always nice. So you can get certain watches that aren't too expensive, that are very unique, and I think this Movado was one of them. Now, the next two are two more watches. One I especially like actually I like both of them. First of all, on the left there is a Vulcain. It's a Vulcain Cricket, which is an alarm watch, and it's one that I've often thought, well, I need an alarm watch. Well, I can't hear it anyway, so I never quite got around to it. But Vulcain, they're a very cool watch. They have their own movements, and just a really nice watch. 34 millimeters. It's from the 70s, and you can see up at around 2 o'clock, you can see the added pusher there for setting the alarm. Now, to the next of it is a Seiko Bellmatic. This is an automatic called the Bellmatic, and it's also from the 1960s. Well, it's a little, I guess, a little older than the Vulcain. Looks brand new to me. I mean, it's a wonderful example. It's a very simple, very clean watch, kind of watch I tend to like a lot. It's got a little date window at 3 o'clock. Very, very cool watch. A Bellmatic, and it's got its little pusher also up at 2 o'clock. Now, these next two are really something. First of all is a LeCoultre memo date manual. Now, LeCoultre was part of Jaja LeCoultre, became part of Jaja LeCoultre. I'm not exactly positive on the way in which these were made, but I believe LeCoultre were made in the United States, and they couldn't put in Jaja LeCoultre because of some kind of export or something like that. It's sort of an interesting story, and so it's an interesting watch to have. And again, you've got, now this one's got two different crowns on it for setting both the date and the time. And the memo date. This one is 35 millimeters. It's from the 1960s. It's a beautiful, beautiful condition. This was a graduation present from ZL's mom. It's a nice watch. Now, the one next to it is the Seagull D304 1963. This is a chronograph, and it's his two registered manual wind chronograph. And I think the name of it is 1963, and it commemorated something, and it's a very popular collector's watch and one in China. They're very reasonable, And it's a very, I mean, for if you want a chronograph, and you don't have a fortune to spend on it, this is one that you might want to look into. I really like this watch. This is very cool. 1963. I think it was a title, something special about that time and date. Could have. It sounds like it was in the middle of the Cultural Revolution, but that was a rocky era. Okay, moving right along. Now, these two watches I think are going to be much more familiar. On the one hand, on the left, you have the Speedmaster Professional, the 3570.50, ring a bell with those who are fans of it, hand wound. Neat watch, 42 millimeter, and looks to me in perfect condition. And next to it is a Zenith El Primero. This is another manual wound. Now, this is one of the things I really, I really like manual winds, and both of these are manual winds. They're both chronographs, and they're the same and very different. They both have black dials. The Speedmaster, that as far as I can see, doesn't have the date, but the Zenith does down at between 4 and 5 o'clock. And then it's got those, both of them have the 3 subdials that are common with chronographs. So, and also too, the Zenith is on a metal bracelet instead of a strap. This is, and really lots of loom, big loom on that one. Okay, now this one is sort of the last wristwatch, and it's one I happen to like a lot. It's the Nomos Tangente, a gang reserve datum. Now, the reserve up is that little ball, a little round window between 12 and 1 o'clock up there, that little red thing, and that'll tell you when your watch is running out of juice. And it's a very interesting dial on there. You have the 12, 2, 4, 8, and 10. And so it's basically about half of the numbers are not there, like you usually don't need them either. The one of the interesting things is that the index between the 12 and the 2 looks like a 1. So it's a what? Anyhow, cool watch. Zeal describes it as the all-time office watch. Clear as a bell. Love this watch. Then on the back, he had a picture of that very nice finish on there. Even you can see it. It's I don't know if it's hand done. I'd be surprised if it were, but very nice on gloves on that. So it's 35 millimeters from 2018. Very nice watch, and like you said, it's an all-time office watch. Now, the last two in Zeal's collection is probably something I should have. First of all, is a Waltham. And Waltham, our son used to live in Waltham, right up the road in Massachusetts, just outside of Boston. And Waltham is what used to be the watch company is now a big apartment complex, and it's called, I think, the Clock Factory or something like that, the name of the apartment. But Waltham is really quite interesting. It's one of the engineers from MIT got together with Waltham this is back in the 60s, when they were getting their instrumentation done. Now, you got to remember is that the computers back then were the size of a room. They were huge. And so they tried to get them as small as possible, but they still had to use a lot of the older technology in some of the timing and some of the other instruments. And so they worked with Waltham to help them get it done. So the whole thing is an interesting history. Now, this one is from the 1920s. There are wristwatches out there. It was something I had to pick up. Now, the last one here is an Elgin pocket watch. And on both of these, Zeal sent me the front and the back. I just put in the back of the one on the Elgin. They're very nicely done on both of them. The Waltham was so interesting from the front. I figured that was enough on that one. Okay, so now here's a guy starting off, and a lot of the watches are very affordable, but they're extremely well selected. Probably the most expensive three would be the Zenith and the Omega and the Nomos. But some of the other ones are like super cool. I mean, like I think having a bumper in one's collection would be a very cool thing to have. There's something about the Lacoutre that I like very much, and there's probably more to it than I realized with those two crowns on it. So anyhow, so this is where he is right now, and what would I suggest of where to go next? To me, it's sort of the next step for most collectors who are young collectors would be something along the lines of a Jaja Lacoutre, because they tend to be more affordable, and both on the new and the used market. Another one, and they have some just great buys, is Parmigiani. Both of those watches are really excellent with high horology, if one can talk about that. They're really excellent watches. And I think that would be a good way to go, because the other bases seem to be covered very well, extremely well, far better than my bases, I think. And so it's like there's no rush in it. If you're young, you got some time. Look around, see what you like. Maybe look for some kind of complication or feature that you don't have. I think you're on the right track. Like to hear from you and see what your views are, any suggestions that you have for ZL. And this is also an invitation to subscribe if you'd like. And until next time, this is Bill Sanders for Watch Art Side, the art and science of watch collection.